Well, we know it's snowing heavily outside, and we hope everybody is, as much as possible, staying off the roads and trying to keep warm and safe. It is 12/21/2008, day 10. It's 4 p.m. in the afternoon. My name is Lisa Wong, Mayor of the City of Fitchburg. You have to first begin with a very big thank you. As you can see, there are a number of city councilors behind me. I especially want to highlight their efforts. The councilors have been working around the clock in our shelters, providing hot meals, canvassing neighborhoods, assisting my efforts in getting information to the public, and even plowing people's driveways. So these counselors have been just integral in a number of things. They've been in contact with constituents. They're bringing those needs back to the Emergency Operations Center, making sure that we have the information we need to pull together this effort citywide. I also want to thank the citizens of Fitchburg. You have been wonderful. This is a very trying event, difficult situation, which I don't think any of us have ever seen in our lifetimes. And we need to continue to pull together in these last few days before Christmas, and with our efforts singularly focused on helping to protect each other's lives. And that's been our number one priority here in the city. Our emergency personnel have been working around the clock as well. Our lines are busy. We reported numbers yesterday. Those numbers are still accurate as of today, about 120 calls per hour plus getting through to emergency lines, and those are just the ones that are getting through. So we appreciate people's patience in trying to contact us. And that number, which I will repeat several times, is 978-343-4801. The state of emergency is still in effect and will remain in effect until further notice. Both the state and the federal government have declared state of emergencies for this area, in particular Fitchburg, this past week. Our understanding is that those state of emergencies are going to remain in effect for the time being. We do have a parking ban in place. We are asking people to, again, stay off the roads, keep the roads clear, both for our snow plowing crews and for the power company's power restoration crews. That's very important to our restoration efforts. The extended weather forecast is not looking good. It is snowing, and accumulation will continue through late evening. Winds are expected to reach as high as 46 miles per hour overnight, and temperatures will remain below freezing, with snow returning to the region on Tuesday night. Our crews at the DPW, this is actually something they know how to handle. They've been keeping the roads clear, they've been keeping the roads salted and sanded, and they have been working around the clock to make sure that our roads are safe. But again, they're doing this to make sure that your travel is smooth. They're making sure that the roads are clear for emergency personnel if they need to get in and out, especially to your neighborhoods, your homes, and also in an effort to minimize any obstructions to the power company's crews as they work to continue to restore power through the city. Have some school closing announcements. Schools will be closed for the Fitchburg Public Schools on Monday and Tuesday this week. Monty Tech, I just got word that they are closed on Monday. They will make a decision as to whether they will be closed on Tuesday as of about noontime tomorrow. We'll continue to report those to the public. Note from our Board of Health, they're asking residents to properly store rubbish and garbage in receptacles. Discarded meats and freezer contents must be stored in these receptacles to prevent animal access. Current cold temperatures will allow discarded meats to freeze and can be put out to the curb on your regular collection day. Residents can contact the Board of Health if Waste Management has not picked up their trash on their normal collection date, and that number is 978-345-9582. That number and that phone number you should call, not just this week, but any week if Waste Management is not picking your trash as they normally should. We also have an advisory from our city wire inspector and electrician, Harry Pervanen. He's advising residents to have a licensed electrician connect or disconnect generators or other non-utility supplied power sources. If you are connected to a generator or other source, your home power panel can create a fatal condition for utility service personnel. We've already getting reports that improperly installed generators are providing power feedback to the poles as the crews are going around to restore power. That is a public safety issue, and that is putting those personnel at risk. So we're asking that no power is being transferred to those utility lines. Contact an electrician if your generator isn't being properly restored, and if you see crews working in your line, we ask that you turn off any power to your main lines. The city is working hard, as I mentioned before, to keep the roads clear. We just want to let people know that when you're plowing, moving snow, just be aware that utility trucks are large. They need room to work around the street power lines. We are continuing to operate the largest shelter in Massachusetts right now. The Senior Center at 14 Wallace Avenue housed just over 60 people last night. We've had upwards of 350 people, and we've been consistently up over 100. So we're hoping that drop in number is correlating with the amount of people who are seeing their power restored in their homes. We ask people if they need more information, transportation to the shelter, they can call the Senior Center, 978-345-9598, or they can certainly stop by at 14 Wallace Avenue. At the Senior Center, as well as on the city's website, www.fitchburg.ma.us. The city is continuing to provide information that we receive from the power company as to streets that have been energized. Now, this does not mean that energy to your home has been restored. This just means that the primary circuits on the street have been restored. And if you see that your street is on there and your individual home is not lit up, there's a few avenues that we ask you to take. First is check your own utility service. If it's been pulled off the house, if there's any damage on your property, then you need to contact an electrician to make sure that everything is properly connected to your home. We also ask you to log on to unitil.com for more information or call into their hotline number. You need to call into this number in order to make sure that your work service order is being processed, and that number is 888-301-7700. We also have a non-emergency hotline number. I mentioned it at the beginning. This is a number that you can call in. We'll try and help you out with any information that we can. These are city workers, city volunteers who are manning these lines. That phone number again is 978-343-4801. We have a few speakers here. Representative Steve DiNatale, who has been just wonderful since the beginning of this crisis. He's been extremely helpful in helping us make sure that we've got the right connections with the state as we move towards an end to this crisis. We also have Unitil Vice President George Gantz, who is going to give you more information about power restoration. Representative?
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to assure people that certainly at the state level, we've been in contact. The governor's reached out just today, as a matter of fact, this morning, the governor and lieutenant governor. They're well aware of the situation here, and they've been providing as much assistance as they possibly can, and we really appreciate that. I wanted to say one thing. I have been getting numerous calls from folks in the city about now they seem to be looking for information. They just want to know when their power is going to be turned on. And quite frankly, that's what's bothering me right now about Unitil, is they can't tell us specifically when our nearly 2,000 people will have their power restored. Will they still be without power on Christmas Eve or Christmas Day? I shudder to think of that. So I want to reach out to the big shot CEO up in New Hampshire, who's probably in a heated home, and ask him to come down to one of our houses that has no heat and spend Christmas Eve with those folks. And I know I'm being emotional about this, but, we've had enough. And I hope we can get those kinds of answers. Thank you.
And we also have our VP from Unitil, George Gantz. He's here to provide information and also to answer any questions that you may have at this point in time.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to start by giving an update on the restoration process. We've talked all week about crew counts, That's an essential ingredient in the process of being able to restore service. Yesterday, we were able to add 40 additional crews to our complement as those crews were released to us by National Grid. That increased our crew count yesterday in Massachusetts to 115 active crews. Our normal utility crew count is 7. Today, we were able to receive and are very grateful for significant additional resources that were brought to bear as a result of crews that were released to us by National Grid. These included 2 transmission crews, 50 utility crews, 28 tree crews, and 15 service crews, plus all of the engineering, operations, and logistics personnel required to support that crew deployment, as well as the supplies and a process of delivering those supplies to the trucks necessary to keep those trucks fully supplied for the restoration effort. This has brought our crew count in the area up to a total of 210 today. They've been working in the field. The snow, while being somewhat of a nuisance, has not slowed their efforts. And we know they're making progress. We are in the process of getting the field reports back from those crews, compiling those reports to be able to provide a detailed assessment of the number of customers remaining out of service. We will provide that information to the town emergency operations centers by 5 p.m. And hope to provide that information publicly by about 6 p.m. One special set of resources that National Grid has also provided to us is a specialized team dedicated to damage assessment. These teams have been out in the field this afternoon. They have been patrolling all of the lines and areas that still need work. They're bringing their detailed assessment reports back. They'll be compiling those. We'll be evaluating those in conjunction with their personnel. As a result of that detailed, very granular assessment of work remaining to be done in the system, we expect to be able to provide estimated restoration times for each of the communities, and we're going to provide that information to each of the EOCs tonight. In addition, those detailed assessments will provide the basis for detailed work plans for tomorrow. Those detailed work plans will provide crew assignments to all of the crews that are in deployment, the 210 crews that we currently have assigned, as well as any additional crews we believe are necessary and which we may be able to pick up if this storm completes its track without creating major problems in the region. We'll have detailed work plans, then we'll go into the crew assignments for the day. We will take that information as well and provide a detailed list of the areas in each of the towns that's going to be worked on through the day. We'll provide that information to the emergency operations centers first thing in the morning. We have personnel now embedded in each of the town emergency operations centers, so we have worked to improve that communication, provide that direct line of communication. That's my status report.
All right, are there any questions? Damien?
When will the assessment team have those estimates on times? You said sometime
We will
tonight.
provide it. We will provide it to the emergency operations centers. We're expecting to do that by tonight.
Time frame for tonight? Any time? I mean, what time tonight?
By tonight.
By tonight. Why did you guys wait for 10 days before you had a damage assessment team look at the damage?
We had damage assessments prepared by. Yeah, we had damage assessments prepared by our personnel at the very outset of the storm. Those were estimates that were prepared in a period of time when there was an intense focus on working to restore customers. Given that 100% of our system was out, considerable effort devoted to the transmission, the sub-transmission systems. That estimate at the front end of the event was not at a detailed, granular level. Our focus at that point was on doing everything we could to restore service as quickly as possible. The situation was complicated by our inability to acquire more crews during the early part of the week. That put a lot of stress on the crews that were being deployed in the field and the personnel that were assigning those crews. The specialized resources from National Grid at this point in time, which has been made available and is greatly appreciated, will provide us specialized expertise that will allow us to do a detailed assessment, a very granular assessment of all the work that needs to be done, something which we have not yet been able to do during this event.
Is Unitil unable to do that type of detailed assessment?
No, we are able to do that type of detailed assessment. We do that normally in the storm events. This storm event was of such a magnitude and across such a scale that doing detailed, granular damage assessment was not something we had the ability to do in the early stages of the storm.
Again, I mean, it's 10 days in. I think we knew 3 or 4 days in that this was a massive event. I mean, why is National Grid only coming into it now?
Because their crews are available.
Okay.
National Grid crews are available now because their work on restoring their customers is done, puts them in a position of releasing crews for use by other utilities. Until yesterday morning, despite repeated requests across the region for additional crews, we were not able to acquire any crews. The crews we did acquire in the process of mutual aid with other utilities came from Philadelphia, from Ohio, and from Tennessee. Crews were not available within the region. We brought crews in from those distant locations. During the course of the week, we continued to seek additional crews. They were not available until yesterday morning.
The fact that you're relying so heavily on National Grid and other crews, does that speak to your inability to manage the storm in the first place?
It speaks to the level of damage that the system had to deal with as a result of this storm. When we complete this event, when we complete the restoration of the event, we know there will be investigations as to what the event constituted, what our response was. We know those assessments will take place, and they will help to answer specifically the question that you're asking. But right now, our focus is on getting customers back as quickly as we can.
There's still no estimate for when folks are going to have power back?
We will have that estimate to the EOCs by tonight.
Okay.
Obviously, yesterday's announcement by the governor raised some concern about whether he thought Unitil was prepared and able to manage the storm. Any response to that?
We welcome the governor's focus on this event. I think the governor's focus helped to allow us to secure additional resources that were necessary for us to complete the restoration process. And we are incredibly grateful for the resources that have been provided. Just as an example of how significant the damage was on our system, in the first week of storm restoration work on the system, we used the amount of materials and supplies that we would normally use in 4 years. So we used up in 1 week the materials and supplies that we normally use in 4 years. That's how significant this event was for us. Again, the additional crews it's a massive deployment in a small area in order to have maximum effectiveness and the shortest amount of time for recovery, and we will have an assessment of that restoration time by town by tonight.
There's still, I think in Townsend, there's still about 150 people without power.
That's correct.
Neighboring Groton, which has their own utility company, they had power back within a couple of days.
Different areas.
I've been told they have a more aggressive vegetation policy than Unitil does, clearing brush and trees from?
I don't have any information about Groton's vegetation policy. We are a regulated utility, regulated by the Public Utilities Commission. We operate our tree trimming practices under guidance and oversight from the DPU. I can't speak to the specifics of Groton either in terms of their tree trimming practices or in terms of the damage that they received or didn't receive in this storm.
A lot of Unitil poles went down from trees, though, that were awfully close to the lines.
Absolutely. That was the primary source of damage.
Is there a problem with the vegetation policy for Unitil?
We do not believe so, but that is one of the factors that obviously will have to be addressed in the post-storm assessments and evaluations.
Who was it that asked National Grid to come in? Was it Unitil or the governor's office?
We've had requests for additional crews out there all week. National Grid released 40 crews to us overnight a night ago, so those were in the field yesterday morning. The contact from the governor's office to us emphasizing the importance of getting the situation resolved in that call. He offered his assistance. We explained what it was that we felt we needed. When we were able to contact National Grid shortly after that call, we were able to identify with them a set of resources which they could provide. So that's the sequence of the event. There have been contacts with other utilities in the state of Massachusetts as well. Another action that was suggested by the governor and his team. So we followed up on that. National Grid is the company that released the resources to us.
At what point did Unitil realize it was overwhelmed? Was it day 1? Is it day 9?
We realized the difficulty of the restoration process early on. We acquired all the crews we could possibly find, and we dedicated ourselves to the restoration effort. We found, as our crews got further into the system during the course of the event, that the damage that we received in the system was more significant than we expected, more significant than we've experienced in the past, and some of the crews have come back and have said, we've never seen damage this significant. Some sections of certain lines have had to essentially be rebuilt. That's the explanation for the amount of materials and supplies we've had to deploy.
When was this, and when was
that was occurring through the course of the week.
Day 5, and when was that communicated to the governor's office?
We did not communicate ourselves to the governor's office. It was the governor's office that contacted us.
Any fault on not relaying this information to the governor earlier?
That's something we'll have to assess after the fact. Right now, we're in a position with significant resources on the ground, making progress. We're delighted with that progress, and we are confident that the work that these assessment teams are going to be able to do this afternoon will put us in a position this evening to be able to give specific restoration times to the town emergency operations centers. That's the first step in the process. The next step is to deploy those crews tomorrow on a timetable and a plan to accomplish the maximum amount of work as quickly as possible, to restore as many customers as possible as quickly as possible.
Thank you. We're going to have another press conference tomorrow, which is Monday at 4. We'll also have one Tuesday at 4 p.m. as well. If we have any additional press conferences, we will let you know. Thank you.